All right, yeah, I wanted to show you something. Due to popular request, I was asked to look at whether, for a decent pair of headphones, can you just run a splitter? Like, is that good enough? Or do you need two different amps? As you can see here, I've got, this is a cheaper amp, but it works fine. And then a Magni here. So I'm going to test this, see how much sound we get. I know it won't be perfect. Y'all don't give me a hard time about it, but it'll give you an idea of the decibel readings. I'll be using this for that. So basically, I'm going to use some royalty-free music out of iMovie so that when we get the bleed, I won't get copyrighted or anything. I'm going to split it out from here, see how many decibels you get, and just basically how it sounds for each of these guys here. And then behind here, I'll show you guys in more detail, but essentially, I took this really ugly contraption. Don't worry about it. I'll give you a cable that works better, that's way simpler, that is essentially just two output. So you'd go from your, this is the DAC down here. You would go from that, and then it splits into four. So you just take one set of your RCAs from that into your Magni in this situation. And if you had another Magni, you'd split it. Or in my situation, I've got a second guy here. This is this Douk Audio guy. So these are all janky and thrown together just because it's what I had laying around, but I'll show you a better way to do it if you wanted to hook it up to two amps instead. And the idea behind this is that, say if you're having a listening session with somebody and you just want to hang out and listen to music, do you actually have to invest in two amps, or can you just invest in one of these and call it a day? Which, is way cheaper and less complicated, and you're not having to get into all this crazy, cabling that I got back here. So let's give it a shot, and I'll let you know what I find out. All right, so as you can see, this guy isn't even going to be used right now. We're dealing with the tester. So the splitter is what I'm trying to say. So we got the splitter here. I'm going to leave the volume knob where it is. I'm just going to let you know, for one, how it sounds. Like if we're losing any kind of resolution or bass response just based on what I'm hearing. And then we'll just do a decibel meter reading just to make sure we're getting a decent amount of headroom out of it. Today I'm using the 4XX. This is not super hard to drive, but definitely it likes a little bit of power. And the DT770 80 ohm as well. And just see if because we're basically splitting the power. So when you do this, you're having the power that's coming out of this. The Magni is pretty powerful. So we're just going to see if that's enough, or if we need more power than this is going to be able to put out, or if it distorts or whatever. So that doesn't need to be on. All right, so I'm going to start my iMovie music here, see what kind of volume we get. Okay, that's loud. Okay, that's very loud. I don't know if y'all can hear that. The disco meeting. All right. So again, not perfect, but I'm easily getting 85 out of these. I'm guessing on my head it's actually higher than that. Like if I was to isolate this area, cover it with cardboard like a seal on your head, I'm guessing, that's probably in the 90s or something, if not more. This is plenty loud. Now let me listen and see if it feels like you're getting the kind of bass response you want there. Not bad. And I don't know if it's just that music. Obviously this isn't a song I sit and listen to all the time, so I'm not sure. But the bass feels satisfying. Yeah. Definitely got a like you kind of feel it a little bit. It's not shaking my head or anything, but it sounds pretty good. Let me try the DC770s here. Okay, very loud, louder actually. Feel like I'm shouting, but you can definitely hear loud. The bass is very responsive. Let's see what that. And that's at like, I don't know, what is that, 2 o'clock maybe? Yeah, see, this is getting driven. This is in the 90s. I bet that's over 100 dB. And with the Magni here, just for giggles, let's bring it up because this isn't going to distort, just for a real short period of time here. Yeah, it's super loud. That's plenty loud. You don't want to do that for a long period of time, by the way, but I just want to see how long. Go. Oh, I need to start it again, so I'm going to listen to it again because it kind of automatically turns off. So, yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that's plenty of volume, and this is like an under $10 adapter. I probably recommend you buy some in this. Honestly, this wasn't meant for this purpose. This is just what I had lying around, and I wanted to go science experiment on it and see how it sounded. But so far, like, it seems like if you got a decent amp, you can sit around with a friend and you can just split it and it'll still sound pretty good. But what I'm going to do now is just listen without the splitter here. Okay, so I'm not going to touch that just for the purpose of this video. But I want to see, I think as soon as I unplug this, if it works, like as soon as I unplug this, if it works the same way that some of the other things I've tried, like if you try in a preamp, if you have two things plugged up, you immediately like lose half of the power. But even if this is plugged in, it's fine. You just can't have it plugged into the speaker side. As soon as you unplug it on the speaker side, all of a sudden all of it starts going through the other side and you get a lot more energy out of it. So I'm going to put this on my head and see if I instantly hear I'm getting more sound out of it. Nope. That's weird. Okay. Okay, let's try it like this. Now this should be louder. Doesn't feel louder yet. Let's start it over. I don't think that's any louder. I mean, I think what we're getting, and I'm sure there's somebody who's got an electrical engineering degree or something that understands this stuff better than me. It almost seems like if it's got enough power for this, then it just kind of cuts off. But at some point, and then if it's got extra power, it'll just go ahead and pass along more. But I'm not hearing any difference in volume whether I plug one in or two. You would think that this would give you less volume for this one because you're powering two and now you're just powering one. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Oh, maybe it's because it could be because the preamp is going out to both. I'm not sure. I wonder. So let me try something. No, that doesn't seem to make any difference either. Okay. So far it's looking like why not just use the headphone splitter here. Okay. So just to walk you all through. Alright, so just to walk you all through, so if you wanted to do it 2 amps, this is how it would look, right? You'd have these two, and just in the back here. So this is your input, and this is your input. So the red and white, that's your input, and don't worry about the color of these cables, just what I had laying around. But just these are 2 RCA cables. Just picture it, white and red here. So you can split this cable. This is your DAC, and this DAC, so it got your digital connection through USB, and now it translated it to analog, and this is where it's going to send it out. Okay. Now this janky cable, don't worry, it doesn't have to be that complicated, but it's just because that's what I had. So I basically did splitters. So each of these started out as 1, and then they go to 2 here, and I split them out. But you can just buy a cable that starts with 2, goes to 4, and then you basically use half of it on each one of these. So you don't have to do it this way, but the end of it is going to be right. So if you just ignore this over here, you still do end up, though, with, so basically 2 sets of cables. So I've already got one set here and the other set here, and you just plug them both in. Now, the potential benefit of doing it this way is that instead of splitting any kind of power at the amp here, so driving two headphones, you can just have, now they each have their own amp. All you're using your DAC for is just, it's not to amplify the signal, it's just to amplify the signal enough so that it's clear for your amps to actually boost the power on it. But as long as it's clear, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, whether you're losing a little bit of signal strength to these, because that's their whole point, is they're going to amplify it. So as long as they're not underpowered, you should be good. So now I'm going to try listening to it if I've got one headphone plugged into one and one into the other, and just, you know, I mean, obviously I'm not doing anything scientific here, but just hear, is it worth all the hassle? Is it worth the hassle of buying a second amp and then getting the dual to quad cable thing and all that stuff? Or can you just buy one of these and, you know, call it a day? Is that good enough? So I'm going to play some music again. I'm going to plug both headphones in. I'm going to put one in each one of them and just see how it sounds. I'm going to do a measurement reading here and see what kind of, I don't even know on that one, what kind of, how much, how loud it is. So far, it feels like I'm getting more bass, but I mean, without doing a side by side, it's really hard to tell for sure. And I'm going to try the 4XX here. And this is at the same volume level as before, so this should be identical, huh? Yeah, I mean, just from memory, I don't really hear any difference between them. And this will be interesting because at some point I'm going to do a review of that guy there too. And I don't know if it's the power that I'm giving it, because I found the best adapter to work with it to give it the best power. And obviously part of your amplifier is having clean power. But I don't think if I did a blind test, I could really tell the difference between this, which is like under $40, and this $100 Magni. That's interesting. All right. Okay, so that was a single one. Now we're going to use the splitter. Okay. I take the splitter, I'm going to add another headphone to it. No difference. Okay, when I plug that in, there's no difference in sound at all. I can do that. So it's not, that is not affecting the power I'm getting at all. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to do a quick swap here. So we can just go. All right. I'm going to do one other way just to be a little bit more scientific about this and see if this makes any difference to the power at all. So the first thing we're going to do, just keep this organized here, is I'm going to restart this song. Okay, I'm going to plug this in directly. Okay, so we have a single, it's not split, it's not anything, this is plugged in directly, okay? And we're going to do a decibel reading here. Okay, so it's 80 to 78, 84, whatever, you know, just the start. Okay? here. Plug one in, start it over. I mean, it's the same. $80 to $85. Yeah. Okay, so now I plugged in a second device. So now both of these are being powered off of the Magni here. So they're both plugged in. I'm going to restart the song. I mean, there's no difference. If I power them both, it seems like the same. All right, I want to try one more thing. Try it on this little guy here, who's theoretically got less power, right? So, all right, little Douk Audio. You are going to have the same deal. So I guess the point of this part would be to figure out, is the issue the amount of power, like just that the Magni's got so much power that it can just power everything together, or is it, I guess I don't really understand. So maybe there's just plenty of power in reserve and it'll just pass along the amount of power that you need so it doesn't overload it. I don't really know, but I'll be curious to run this. All right, so we'll run that again. So let's really crank it here. So where's my sound? Oh, is it because of this? Oh, I'm not even plugged in yet. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. Okay. So this is going to be one of these guys. I'm trying to blow my eardrums off here. Okay, super loud. See any difference in sound? Waiting for it to come back. Here, the loudest person. No difference. Slight difference. Yeah, there's a slight difference. I wonder if that's measurable or if that's just placebo. It feels like it sounds slightly different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like you lose a slight amount of volume or like richer fullness or something. I wonder if I can measure that. So we'll start at measure like at the very beginning of the song. So down here with the measure. Okay, like literally at the beginning. We'll see what it says here. Okay. 87 to 91 at the first few seconds. Okay. That's with both of them plugged in. So I'm gonna unplug the other one. Try that one more time. Yeah, see, it starts at 93. wonder if it's just positioning. Here, I'll try one more time, just make sure I'm not in position. 94. Yeah, see, it just went up to 94. Let's see. Okay. Start this over. Yeah. Okay, you lost about 5 dB. Okay, it wasn't crazy. Okay. Even so, it sounds fine. Okay, so I'm not even at 50%. I know you can't probably see it on this little guy, but so you're like right there. You're not even at noon, and you're still getting, you know, like you're getting near the comfortable listening level. Now, if you're like listening to super bass head stuff and you got your EQ cranked all the way, and you're just trying to shake the bones out of your head with while you're doing this, I'm not sure. I'm not going to test it with like EQ cranked all the max. Like sometimes I do listen to music like that. So if you're one of those, you might want to, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I have found, you know, if you're sitting around listening to Adele or classical music or, you know, something pretty chill, none of this is going to matter. It'll all be fine. But, you know, if you're listening to Daft Punk or like hip hop with a lot of bass on it or something, there might be some difference that ends up coming out of this. But even this guy, like not even at noon, just if I put this on my head, it sounds great. You know, here, let me, on this list, I got this free list from the iMovie that you can use. There's actually, there's Hans Zimmer that's on here that's really good. I just want to find it. No, okay, Big Sky. That's what I'm looking for. So I want to see if this makes me feel like I'm listening to really good headphones or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, now the only thing that I can't tell, I mean, it sounds good. I'll just say that, but I don't know if I'm missing any like low end sub bass rumble, you know, that real kick you, you know, like really like shake your bones kind of stuff. I think that's the only thing that you got to worry about when you got a splitter here. Is I'm not sure if you're going to lose any of that. But if you're sitting around listening with somebody, I'm guessing you're just trying to vibe out, kind of hanging out together, and I don't think that you're going to notice really anything. I think it'll be pretty hard to tell that you're even sharing. I don't see that there's really any point in doing all this with the cable. I mean, not all that. I mean, I'll show you guys how to do this with the cabling without having to spend all that, you know, not the money, but it's just a mess. You can still get a nice little cable to go out to 2 amps. Now, you might want to do something like this. Like, let's say, so this is your headphone, and for some reason, your head, like this doesn't have an output. So if this was your headphone amp, but you also wanted to go out to a speaker amp, this would make sense. You could split the signal, and instead of it being here, you would have this going out to your home theater amp or whatever. That would make sense to split the signal. But with this, I mean, the fact that this works so well, even on I mean, this is like an under $40 amp, and these are not the easiest to drive headphones in the world. I mean, they're not the hardest either, but I mean, these take a little bit of power. The fact that these sound pretty good on it, you might be better off just buying a splitter and not having to worry about the 2 amps. So, if I got anything else to say. So one thing I do have to say is I got a few subs now. Thank you so much. Thank you for the people that have been watching. I feel like the time is well spent. I think these things are interesting because it helps us to figure out where our time and money is well spent when it comes to audio without having to listen to companies tell you to just buy more expensive stuff. Like, that's one of the things I'm going to be doing here too, is like, do you actually need to buy this expensive stuff, or could you get away with one of these and an Apple USB-C adapter? So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Leave me any questions you got. I love to interact with people and let me know what you think.